All right, let's dive in. Today, we are talking about one single idea that can completely change our relationships from the inside out. It's called candor. And honestly, it's the key to getting past the surface level stuff and building that deep, real connection that I think we're all looking for. So let me just start by asking you a question, and I want you to really think about it for a second. When was the last time you felt truly known? Not just, understood, but seen. Your quirks, your secret fears, your biggest hopes. If that feels like a long time ago, you are definitely not alone, and we're about to figure out why that happens. You see, that feeling of being a stranger in your own relationship, it doesn't just pop up overnight. It usually starts with a problem we don't even see happening. Let's call it the slow fade of honesty. Now, when I say hiding, I'm not talking about some huge, dramatic secret. Nope, it's the small, everyday stuff. It's choosing to stay quiet when something kind of bothers you. It's saying, I'm fine when you're really not. Or just not sharing that little worry because, well, it just seems easier, right? We're scared of rocking the boat. And over time, all those tiny little acts of hiding, they start to add up. And the result isn't some big, dramatic breakup. It's a slow drift. That amazing connection you used to have gets replaced by distance. And because that foundation of trust has been quietly wearing away, suddenly, the smallest disagreements can blow up into these massive fights. So, if that's the problem, what's the solution? What are we even aiming for? Let's take a look at what an ideal of total trust really looks like. There's this line from the book of Genesis that's just a perfect metaphor for this. Of course, it's not really about physical nakedness. It's about a state of complete emotional and psychological openness with another person, with zero shame attached. And that phrase right there, that's the goal. I mean, can you imagine that? A relationship where you never have to second guess what you say, where you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. A place where you can show your entire self, all the messy parts, and know, truly know, that you won't be judged or rejected. That's the kind of safe harbor we're talking about. So the big question is, how do we get there? Well, the key is practicing real candor. But what does that word even mean? We have to get super clear on the definition. Candor is so much more than just, not lying. It's an active practice. It's making the choice to be open when you feel like shutting down. It's choosing to be frank, to be real, even when silence feels so much safer. You do it because you know that honesty is what actually protects the relationship in the long run. Okay, and this part is absolutely critical. Candor is not the same thing as brutal honesty. Not even close. Brutal honesty often uses truth like a weapon, It's about being right and winning the argument. But candor uses truth as a tool to build a bridge. One creates safety and closeness, the other just causes wounds and pushes people away. It's all about your motive. And listen, this isn't just some nice, fluffy idea. There's real evidence behind this kind of communication, which brings us to the science of vulnerability. Study after study shows this direct link between candid communication and relationship satisfaction. It's pretty amazing. When couples feel safe enough to be vulnerable and open with each other, the entire dynamic of their relationship just shifts for the better. So what's the bottom line here? The payoff for being brave enough to practice candor is huge. You're not just avoiding fights. You are actively building higher trust, way deeper closeness, and a real alignment on the things that matter most to you both. You're creating a space where it is genuinely safe to be you. Okay, I get it. This all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it, especially when a conversation feels really hard or awkward? Well, let's get into a super practical guide. Here's a simple 4-step framework you can use. Think of it as a roadmap to help you structure these conversations and keep them safe, focused, and actually productive. Let's break each one down. Step 1. Before a single word comes out of your mouth, you gotta ask yourself this question. Am I trying to prove a point here and just be right? Or am I really trying to get closer to this person? If the answer isn't connection, it's probably best to just pause and wait until it is. Step 2 is a total game changer. Choose one thing, just one. Don't bring up the entire history of everything that's ever bothered you. We've all done it, right? It's a recipe for a disaster. Picking one specific issue keeps the conversation from getting totally overwhelming, and it helps you both stay present. Step 3, how you start the conversation pretty much determines how it's going to end. So instead of just launching into a complaint, Start with something positive. It could be something like, hey, I really appreciate how hard you've been working, or I know you've been super stressed lately. This immediately signals that you're on the same team. And finally, step 4. Here's the tool that ties it all together: a simple script. It's not about being a robot. It's about having a structure when your emotions are running high. For example, when our budget talk got heated, I felt really anxious. I value us feeling like a team with our money. Can you see how different that feels from just saying, you spend way too much? And that middle part of the script, the I felt part, that can be the hardest bit. We usually just say, I felt bad or I was upset. But a tool like an emotion wheel can help you get way more specific. Did you feel dismissed? Or maybe worried? Or inadequate? Naming the exact feeling is like a shortcut to being understood. So, as we wrap this up, let's bring it back to you. This isn't about some massive overnight transformation of your whole relationship. It's just about taking one small, courageous step. So think about it. What is one small truth you're ready to share with someone you love, using this framework to build a connection, not a conflict? Because that's where all the change begins.